Yesterday, we had hitters for you. Today, we have 10 must-draft starting pitchers for you guys. And these are names that you're not going to be able to leave your drafts with after you listen to today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, we're your number one source of fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Dominick Martino. You can find me on Twitter at DomMartinoFB. Here, as always, with my brother, my co-host, my partner in crime, Matthew Ahne, and you can find him on Twitter at Matthew_Ahne. If you're watching on YouTube and you haven't already, hit that little bell below. It will subscribe you to the channel and give you a notification every time we drop a new episode. Or if you're listening on the audio side of things on a platform like Apple or Spotify that allows 5-star ratings and reviews, we would truly appreciate it if you could do that for us. And folks, you know, I've been talking about it, and if you haven't done it already, you're hurting yourself at this point. You need to check Matt and I out on the Subtext platform. Link is in bio if you're listening or watching. If you do decide to give us a chance there, you're going to get exclusive access to our 2025 rankings, sleepers, breakouts, bust. You're going to be able to get text messaging alerts right to your phone. Nobody else in the industry is offering that. You're going to be able to ask us direct questions about your keepers, dynasty questions, and so much more. So once again, link in bio. We you're listening or watching or available on any of our social media platforms. Give us a chance on Subtext. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bets wins on FanDuel. And all right, Matt, I set it up at the top. I'm going to say it again. Yesterday, we broke down some, 10 really good hitters that everybody should be trying to get in their drafts. Today, we got 10 pitchers lined up, and it's going to just be an action-packed episode, man. So, Matt, who do we got up first, my brother?
No doubt. So, you know what? A guy that's been struggling a little bit in spring, but I feel is going at a price that you can't really pass on, and it's Luis Castillo for the pitching for the Seattle Mariners. I'm a little out of it. My guy is honestly, had a rough year last year, but I feel like that is why I'm so in on him. He had an off year, and by off year, he pitched 175 innings, a 3.64 ERA with 175 strikeouts, and a 1.16 WHIP. I mean, it's not atrocious. It's not like, oh my God, like he's had one of the worst seasons of his career. And it's not, but it's also probably the worst it's been in a bit, but still, that's still a good season. I mean, the year before it was only, 0.3 less than ERA less than before at 3.34. You look at it, he had 197 strikeouts with 197 innings with 219 strikeouts and an ERA at 3.34 and a WHIP of 109. Like, it's not atrocious. And he probably would have got a little bit more of a groove and could have brought that ERA down if he would have got the 20 more innings, but he only managed to start about, 30 games instead of 33 games like he did the year before. Look, Castillo's still fine. Everything still looks good for him. Fastball velocity hasn't changed. The amount of chase is just the xERA and X batting average have kind of fallen off a little bit. And he didn't have as much movement on his off-speed pitches as he normally does, but he still had great movement on his fastball, still had great movement on his breaking pitches. The dude just had a little bit of bad luck and a little bit of injury going on with that grade 2 hamstring that was happening last year that landed him on the IL for the end of the season. He's coming into the season with no restrictions. I feel a little bit of rust, and he's gonna be just fine. I think he's gonna be a great, top 12 pitcher by the end of the season, and that's exactly where I got him ranked right now. And right now, Castillo is going at pick 91 overall, and that is a steal and a half. So I'm drafting him literally everywhere. He's ending up as like my SP3, SP3, sometimes SP2 if I really wait and go with the batting talent. And it's just a steal all around. So do not pass on Luis Castillo at all.
Matt, I don't know if I love Castillo as much as you do, but I'm in. I definitely have him higher than ADP. I got Luis Castillo right now around SP17. I think he's a comfortable SP2. I'm not expecting the SP1 upside anymore. I don't think he's going to be a big strikeout guy like he used to be. Some of the stuff is, as he's getting older, he's going to be age 32 this year. It happens over time. If you look back, back at like 2020, 2021, the fastball was sitting like 97. It's come down a little bit to like 95. So, with over time, even if you look at last year, the fastball, or 2023, the fastball was getting hit 167. It was up to 204. So, I mean, it's just a little bit of him getting older. Talent's still there. Just like I said, don't expect him to be like an absolute unit out there anymore, but he's going to give you that low to mid 3 ERA. He's going to give you that K per 9. The whip's always been solid, especially over, the last 3 years. I'm expecting like at least like a 1.15 whip. And then he's on Seattle. Seattle's a good team. He did only win 11 games last year. I think that comes up closer to 15. So like I said, solid SP2. You getting him in the SP3 range. Matt, you mentioned the Fantasy Pros ADP. If you look at NFBC over the past month, he's all the way down to pick 109. So he's actually falling. So I think that's something we could take advantage of. Matt, too. I'm definitely taking him as a low-end SP2, high-end SP3, because that's where you could draft him at right now. Like I said, I have him ranked a little bit higher. Not somebody I'm reaching for, but I'm very comfortable paying the price that he's going for now. So let's move on to our next guy. Somebody else, that's I don't think he's getting the love he deserves. We've talked about him a little bit here on the podcast. Let's talk a little Jack Flaherty. Jack Flaherty re-signs with the Detroit Tigers, where he had a lot of success last year. He's still only going to be 29 years old this year, still young enough that he has that talent and upside. 18 starts last year with the Tigers, 2.95 ERA, 106 innings, 133 strikeouts, and he had a sub-1 whip at a 0.95. Am I expecting those exact same results? Absolutely not. But can he give you, once again, low to mid threes ERA? Sure. Can he give you over that K per 9? Definitely. He did it consistently last year. The whip, that's where I think things might be a little bit questionable. I could see him being a little bit Blake Snellish at times with the whip, where it gets a little higher. But on the season, I still think he should be pretty solid. And hey, I expect Detroit to be pretty good last year. He won 7 games in his 18 starts with Detroit last year. Another guy I think can get up over 15. But what puts somebody like Flaherty over the top for me is just that strikeout upside, man. He did it very consistently last year. I think he's done it pretty consistently throughout his whole career when healthy. Health does always remain a little bit of a question with Flaherty. We know that. But that being given, his ADP is, very low at the moment. He's coming off the board as SP 39 on Fantasy Pros. That's around pick 136. If I switch back over to NFBC over the last month, 147. So Jack Flaherty, somebody that I really like, ADP once again, somebody that's seems to be dropping a smidge in ADP. I have Flaherty at SP 24, another guy that, if you went a little bit safer with your SP 1, low end SP 2, high end SP 3, that's where I love Flaherty right now. He's somebody I'm actually reaching a smidge for, not going crazy, but once again, I would definitely take him higher than the ADP. I would take him around, he's closer in my rankings to guys around like pick 100. So that's I would feel comfortable taking Flaherty around there, and I really think there's a lot of upside potential, because if he has the whip situation figured out like he did last year, with Detroit, a lot of upside here,
So me with Flaherty, I'll say this: I am much lower than you. I'm at 37. I still think he's a great pitcher. My biggest problem with him is, obviously the whip, but also too, even though he's returning back to Detroit, he left via, I believe, a trade, and then had to come back and sign. So, I mean, there might be a little false. I feel like he had no other option, so he went there. I do like the park. I like the fact that he added other, added other pitches over the years, because he used to just be pretty much a 2-star pitcher. That I think is what's helping him out in being more successful and things like that. I'm just not as high. I just don't believe in the pretty much the SB2. I just don't feel comfortable walking away with him. I could totally see walking away with like an SP3. I'm not really mad at that. I haven't ranked as SP3 4 borderline. So Jack Flaherty for me, it is what it is. I'm more on ADP, more closer to ADP than Dom is. It's really just where it is with that. Coming up next, we got guys that are actually performing in spring training that are giving us some hope, and we got some guys that are prospects, and we got some guys that this podcast has always been high on, and that's coming up next. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you a chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 in extra bucks to use everything from the buzzer beaters, Cinderella stories, and even cutting down the nets. Picking my favorites, I've got my eye on a few underdogs this year, and FanDuel makes it even easier to get back get back them with spreads. Wow. Totals and game props. Staying in the action with the tournament games happen almost every day. There's always something exciting to bet on. Easy, fast. The FanDuel app is simple to use, and when I win, I get paid instantly. No waiting around, so just visit FanDuel.com and get in on college hoops, actions, and tournament all along. And guys, look, quite honestly, my guilty pleasure is Duke. I will never not bet with Duke, so just bet on Duke, and you're pretty much just going to be just fine. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. And all right. So, look, you want to get on that subtext action, you want to win your leagues, this is the way to do it. You got to go ahead and, click the link in the description below and join the subtext, and you're going to have our rankings. You're going to have insight. You're going to be able to ask us questions. You're going to have an edge on your whole league. On top of that, you're going to be able to get in that listener league. And the way you do that is you also join, and then you share every single one of our posts that we post. I post like 3-4 times a day. And that gives you an extra entry every single round. So we're going to be giving away Monday 4 slots. So get in there now. You got all weekend to get on there. Then in 2 weeks, we're going to be filling it up. We're going to be drafted the night before opening day. So get in there and let's do this thing. But now, without further ado, we got another guy coming up. And that is Mr. Sandy Alcantara of the Miami Marlins. And you know what? I am excited. I am really excited. You know why? I wasn't sure what was going on with him the year he went down to TJ, and it was really disappointing. I traded for him that year, and I figured, okay, there's a bounce back. Then he goes down to TJ, and it's kind of ugly. But there's some hope. He's looking good in spring, like real good. Everything I'm hearing and seeing, he's just looking like his old self. 8 innings so far, no earned runs. Only walked about 2 guys, has 8 strikeouts, has a ERA of 0 and a 108 whip. Like, he is looking like his old self. That K per inning, if not a little bit under, low ERA, and a guy that's just going to be super reliable with a low whip. Honestly, look, he's coming at a steal this year, if I'm not mistaken. Alcantara's coming off the board at literally pick 147. Honestly, if he's still there in your drafts either this weekend or next weekend, depending on when you're drafting, you can't. I mean, and I say this a lot with almost every guy we talk about on this episode, you really can't pass on this. This is one of those comeback stories that can seriously be a league changer. I'm drafting Alcantara literally everywhere I can. Alcantara can truly be one of the, or not even a roster stabilizer, a roster enforcer. He's going to be phenomenal if everything clicks.
Yeah, man, I'm with you on Sandy. The price is too good to pass up on him. So I love the price. He's even a guy you can maybe reach a little bit for, maybe a round earlier, especially since the spring training's been so good so far. I will say this. The one thing that does worry me about Sandy, I think he's going to have a great ERA. I think he's going to be very good at preventing runs, as he always has been. Miami, not going to win too many games. The K per 9, always been a little bit questionable. If he gives you the like a lot of innings, which I don't know if he's going to do coming off, the surgery and everything. So I don't know if there's going to be like some sort of innings limit or anything like that with Sandy. Remains to be seen. And the whip is, something that's always been a little bit questionable throughout his career. He had 2 really good years back to back in 21 and 22. But other than that, always been a little bit questionable throughout his whole career. So we'll see. And especially coming off the surgery, it's spring training right now. Yeah, he looks great. But, I'm not reaching like 2 or 3 rounds. I don't want to go crazy over Sandy. But like I said, if you have to reach around, other guys in your league like him, sure, do it. Not doing much more than that, but there's definitely a lot of upside here, as Matt mentioned. And he's still fairly young. He's only going to be 28 years old or 29 years old. Sorry about that. 29 years old this upcoming season. So I do like me some Sandy Alcantara. I am trying to get a good amount in him in my leagues too. But let's talk about this next guy. This is somebody that Matt and I are both super excited about. Let's talk about Tanner Bibee. Man, he is not getting the respect that he deserves. Fantasy Pros, ADP, SP28 around pick 96. I swing back over to NFBC. It's coming off the board, pick 108. So, actually another guy that's just falling, and I don't see it. I don't understand why. Bibee's been so good through his, first 2 seasons in the bigs. He was a high-end pitching prospect. He's going to be 26 this year. Last year for Bibee, 3.47 ERA through 31 starts. He won 12 games. The Guardians are a solid team. 173 innings, 187 strikeouts, well over that K per nine, took a step forward in whip with a 1.11 whip. I mean, I just don't see what's not to like here. This is a guy that, yeah, I'll reach for him. You know what? We talked about not reaching for some of these other guys on this list. Bibee, one of them on my team this year. If I have to reach for him for, SP2 in like a 12-man league, I'm not mad at that because you know what? I think the upside there is, easily a top 20 pitcher for Bibee because the stuff is really good. He's been getting those strikeouts, man. He really improved in the strikeout department from year 1 to year 2. I just really don't know what else to say about him. He's just a really good starting pitcher, so much upside. This is probably one of my favorite guys on today's episode.
Yeah, no, I mean, agreed. He's probably going to be on an episode next week. In all honesty, that's the thing. Dom likes to take all of my guys, literally. So hint, hint. But Tanner Bibee is absolutely incredible, and you're going to have to just wait for my take next week. But I want to move on. We're going to talk about Jackson Jobe with the Detroit Tigers. Look, we talked about him a couple weeks ago, and he is somebody that I think we do need to draft. One, the price is absolutely incredible. He's coming off the board right now at 254 across like 4 platforms, 269 on NFBC. That's literally $3.99. Okay, he's like your last pick in your draft, or like your pitcher 7 or 8, and he's holding his own. I mean, granted, he had a little rough start to spring training, and wasn't really looking too hot essentially, but then picked it back up at this last start. He has a, what do you call it? I'm on the wrong pitch here. He has a 3.12 ERA so far through 3 games in 8 innings with 5 strikeouts, a .8 whip, like looking stellar in those things. Yeah, he gave up 2 home runs. One at the smaller ballpark, so he's going to get the protection of going back to Detroit. On top of that, I mean, just quite honestly, like Jobe is just a pitching talent that I think is absolutely incredible, and I think is obviously one of, if not the best pitching prospect in the game. If Andrew Painter doesn't get healthy anytime soon, so Jackson Jobe is somebody I'm targeting everywhere. I mean, he's literally a steal, and he could be another guy that, even though he's going to have an innings limit this year, I don't think he's going to see more than probably like 129 to 135. Still going to be a guy that's going to contributor. Just expect like a July, vacation, mid-August to mid-August, and then it's back to pretty much kill it in playoffs for you. So Jackson Jobe is somebody I'm 100% targeting without a doubt.
Yeah, man, great breakdown on Jobe. Love him, my opinion. He best pitching prospect in the game, my opinion. 6'2", 190. He gets up, touches almost 102 on the radar. Sits between 95 and 97 with the fastball. His slider is amazing, getting crazy spin on it. Sits around between 81 and 84. So that differential between the fastball and the slider is devastating. Just does everything you like to see from a pitching prospect. Like I said, 6'2", 190. He's got a solid frame on him. He's probably only going to get bigger and stronger as he goes along. Definitely, Matt, another guy just like Bibee for me. Jobe is definitely somebody that I want a lot of shares of this year. And he's somebody that you want to talk about. You spoke about the ADP 250. Jump them up. Take them higher because it's not going to happen in your home leagues. If you have people that pay attention in your home leagues, I'm telling you, you're not going to be able to get him at that price. He's somebody that you definitely want to take a little higher. If it's confirmed he's making the rotation, which I don't see why he wouldn't. He's having stellar spring training like Matt spoke about. SP6 for me. Easy. Get him as your SP6. I think that's a safe spot to take him there. I love Jackson Jobe.
There's literally nobody in his way.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, there's no reason that Detroit shouldn't do it. So love me some Jobe. Take him everywhere. Let's move on to this next guy. Might kind of keep it short on him. He's somebody that we talk about a lot. But if we don't have one of our mock draft darlings on, our episodes, what are we doing, right? So let's talk about Jesus Luzardo real quick. Love me some Luzardo. He's another guy that, kind of just being undervalued at the moment. Spring training hasn't looked great, he's given up some bombs, but you know what? He's a guy that, is banged up, coming off injury. So I think we give him a little benefit of the doubt with that. If you look back at the 22 and 23 for Luzardo and you just take them together and you combine them, it's a really good combo. If my computer wants to work here with me, but I'll give you, it's like a mid-3s ERA, well over a K per 9, like 278 innings. You're talking about 328 strikeouts. So killing it there. There you go. It's finally wanted to load. And then the whip is a 1.15. And once again, that's Jesus Luzardo over the last 2 years. And he gets to go over to the Phillies, going to win some more games. Might give up a little bit more because more home runs because the park is smaller. Miami's one of the best parks to pitch in the league. But I still believe in him. I still think it's a mid-3s ERA with a lot of strikeouts. I think the whip might be questionable, might have a 1.20 whip, but he's a guy that's going around where Jobe is. You don't have to pay too much for him. I'm not jumping him up the way I'm jumping up Jobe, but if you get Luzardo as your SP7, you're fine. Yeah, and he has a lot of upside. Worst case scenario, you give him 2-3 starts. If he's getting bombed, you get rid of him and you move on.
Yeah, completely agree. And it's going to play up. He's going to be just fun. There's a lot of great names in that bullpen. They're going to be able to develop him. Just watch out. I might give up a little bit more home runs this year, which 3.5 ERA, 3.6 ERA isn't atrocious, especially at the price. Coming up next, we'll be talking about somebody that lives in a very cold weather, and he kind of screams and wails at the top of his lungs. Coming up next.
Have you ever checked your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you just stop managing money and you start building your wealth. With their surprise insights, when I first started using Monarch, I realized just how much money I was spending on food delivery. Now it makes it so much easier to budget and smarter, and you save so much more. Their easy collaboration. You're managing your money with your partner. It's smoother than ever. You can track your shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress, and take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Once again, that's monarchmoney.com. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. And all right, Matt, why don't you give it to the people? Let's talk some Yeti.
Oh, yeah. Spencer Arrighetti, the Yeti himself. Oh, the Houston Astros. It's weird. I don't know how Yeti survive in Texas, but, we'll figure that one out. Maybe we'll exit, National Geographic or something. But anyway, my guy is awesome. Last year was, a little bit ups and downs, when he got the call, still a young stud, got the call early too. Really wasn't, living the dream after in the first 4 months of his career, essentially, right? Didn't really have a good month until August, but then he really went off. 32 innings, 47 strikeouts, a 1.95 ERA, and a 0.89 whip. September was, a little bit of negative regression with a 3.92 ERA, but still was looking great with at least a strike per inning, looking real good. And the whip got a little high, but he was really a force, and it was a couple blow up starts that really just kind of disintegrated his stats too. He showed talent in bright spots. Like there was a bunch of 10K games. The dude really just threw it out there, and he has a lot of good stuff going on for him. Like you look at just the pitches, maybe not everything under the sun here, but let's look at the four-seam fastball. It's going 94 miles an hour, had a little bit of a higher batting average, but again, he had a lot of unluckiness across certain parts of the season. But you start looking at other pitchers, like the sweeper and stuff, barely getting hit. The cutter was barely getting hit at 248. The curveball was absolutely filthy with a batting average of 171, and he was putting guys away with that 32% of the time. Even though he leaned on that fastball nearly 40% of the time, he was still throwing those other three pitches, 20%, two of them, and 10% the other time. Still also has a sweeper, changeup, sinker, and slider. The dude has a plethora of pitches as well. He's a young stud that I think is going to be really good. The price is fantastic on him as well. Honestly, you look at what's going on with him, and he's going at almost $3.99. He's going off the board at pick 205. 205, which is absolutely craziness to me. So just
62.
Just really don't sleep on him. It's a guy you don't have to pay much for, that also just could be a guy that can really, change your rotation for the better. These are guys you're trying to get early and in the draft that you're going to watch out for. He's performing in spring. He's going to perform all season long, I have a feeling. And, second year in the bigs, I think, is something that he learned after those last 2 months when he made the adjustments. He's going to make more adjustments this offseason. I think he's going to be phenomenal.
So, Matt, and our avid listeners and fans, I need you guys to lock in with me for a second because I got a story to tell.
Oh, God.
It was July 13th, 2024. The Houston Astros were slated to play the Texas Rangers.
And all through the night.
As the Houston Astros take the field, we hear a roar coming from the bullpen. And it is the Yeti himself, Spencer Arrighetti. The giant, 6'2", mountain of a man, takes the mound. Goes 6 strong innings, strikes out 7, only gives up 3 walks. And that was a start to the Yeti, Spencer Arrighetti himself, to take a 12-start run to the end of the season, where he pitched 71 innings, struck out 85 hitters, had a 3.04 ERA with a 1.12 whip, and batters only hit 217 against him. If that does not speak enough about my friend Spencer Arrighetti, the Yeti himself, I don't know.
Oh my God.
And I will leave you, my friends, and Matt with that.
That was amazing. It was like it was the night before Christmas and all through the house. Like, oh my God.
I appreciate it. I have to give a quick shout out to where it's due. This quick shout out to Scott White from CBS. He always does, some incredible speeches, and I was inspired by him on that one. So shout out to Scott White. Shout out to Spencer Arrighetti, the Yeti himself, and he is a must draft if he did not get that from what I was putting down before. But I guess it is my turn. I guess I have to continue speaking. I don't know how I'm going to follow up myself here. I set such a high bar. I don't think I'm going to be able to match that with this next guy. But we're going to talk about Nick Pivetta here for a minute. I'm excited about him. He's somebody that's going for free 99 right now too. Off to a great start this spring training. 5.2 innings, no earned runs, 1 hit, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts. Like I said, hasn't given up a run, an 0.52 whip. He's just being overlooked. I know he's not good consistently, right? At the end of the year, it's probably going to be a 4 ERA. There's going to be ups and downs. He's a big strikeout guy, though. He's going to win games. He goes over to San Diego from Boston. He's had a really good whip the last 2 years, a 112 whip on the dime the last 2 seasons. So I think he's a guy that if you can afford a little bit higher of an ERA, you're getting the strikeouts. You should get, 12, 13 wins, and you should be getting a solid whip as well. So I think taking Nick Pivetta, once again, SP7, SP8, it's not a bad idea at all. Once again, be able to afford, his blow-up starts where he's going to give up 6 runs. But there's a lot of times where he goes out there, gives you 6, 7 innings, and winds up with 10 strikeouts, only gives up a couple hits and walks, and it winds up really helping your team out. So a nice little dart throw at the end of drafts, Nick Pivetta.
I'm not going to ruin it for you, so I'm just going to leave it.
Matt's not in.
No, not at all. Look, he's good. Like when I want him off the waivers, he's not a guy I'm going to go and waste a draft pick on. In all honesty, if I'm taking a shot on anybody, it's going to be somebody with a little bit higher ceiling. If I'm looking this late in the game for a roster stabilizer, for a rotation stabilizer, I'm pretty much screwed. So I'm good. But to each his own. So I'm gonna get my last guy in here real quick, and that is Walker Buehler of the now Boston Red Sox. And this kid coming back from TJ last year was absolutely atrocious. Really just could not get her done in 75 innings. He had a 5.38 ERA with 64 strikeouts and a whip of 1.55. Like, it was a bad season. He just did not look himself. But he's coming out in the spring and everything's looking way better. Maybe the new team and new vibes are just really doing it for him. He's already had 5 innings pitched, 7 strikeouts, 1.8 ERA with a 1 whip. Like, I know it's a small sample size, but this is something he didn't get at all last year. Like, there was nothing that you can really ask for of him. Like, it was just like, oh God, can you get him off the mound? But through the playoffs, he showed a little bit and was just like, hey, like, oh, there's a little bit left, little juice left in him. And then when he goes and gets signed by Boston for literally like a bargain and a bag of chips, it was crazy, a $2.1 million deal. Yeah, Buehler really just said, okay, cool, I'm gonna go get paid next year. So Buehler's gonna 100% take over this year. Maybe not like full glory, number 1 SP in a lot of my rankings for about 2 years, but I would say somebody that is going to blow up his draft price as long as he can stay healthy. This dude is priming to be incredible. I think he wants to go get paid, and I think he's ready to rock.
Yeah, I like Buehler too. Like you said, Matt, the price is free $99 right now. SP 71, pick 235. Yeah, definitely somewhere you could throw your dart. Like you said, I don't think he has that upside of like being a top and pitcher anymore, but can he give you like a mid-threes ERA, around a K per 9? Whip, honestly, I think that's just up in the sky because, when guys come back from injuries like this, the control is like the last thing that comes back. But you know what? I do think there is upside here. There's definitely upside. One of the best young pitchers in the game as he was coming up. I like him. Let's talk about this last guy real quick. Let's talk some Gavin Williams. I'm happy that I get to mention him here on this podcast. Another guy that's going super late, high-end pitching prospect, a couple years ago. And, the love kind of went away after, a mediocre season last year. He was dealing with injuries, though, of course. He only made 16 starts. It was a 4.86 ERA, 76 innings, 79 strikeouts, a 1.36 whip. I think we throw it out the window. I don't think we really put too much into it. Like I said, dealing with injuries, just didn't have a great year. But you know what? 3 starts so far this spring training for Gavin Williams, 8 innings, 16 strikeouts, 2 walks, 5 hits. It's an 0.87 whip, 1.13 ERA. I think he's ready to take off. He's 6'6", 250, mountain of a man. Cleveland's always been good with their starting pitching. I think that Matt says Walker Buehler is going to blow up his draft price. I think it's going to be actually Gavin Williams. I think he is literally somebody I'm going to try and have on as many teams as possible. And the funniest thing is, Fantasy Pros ADP, Walker Buehler, SP71. Guess who's SP72? It's Gavin Williams. I'll take him over Buehler all day. I'd love me some Gavin Williams. He is, once again, an absolute must draft. But guys, with that being said, that is it for today. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment, rate, and review. And shout out to our everydayers and new listeners for making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen each and every day. And guys, until next time, see ya.